Hello and welcome back to another All Things Microsoft 365 Compliance podcast. And I'm Ryan Murphy, and as always, I'm joined by Nikki. Hi, Nikki.
Hi, Ryan. Nice to be back here again. So I'm Nikki Chappell, Principal Cloud Architect at Cloudway and Microsoft MVP. And today, as guest, we've got Graham Hosking. So over to you, Graham.
Thanks very much. Hi, I'm Graham Hosking. I'm currently a compliance lead at Quorum Cyber.
Happy days.
And
So
thank you.
Go ahead, Nikki, go ahead.
I'm going to say thank you so much for joining us today, Graham. It's got a really interesting topic to discuss today.
Indeed, yeah, a very kind of on topic, I guess, for the last month with the AI wars that are going on between Microsoft and Google. So I wanted to talk about this new tool and what it means for us in the industry, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yes, I think everybody must have heard of ChatGPT, and good or bad, it's here to stay, I think.
Yeah, it's a mouthful to get through as well. ChatGPT. I always want to say ChatGPT, but that's not right. ChatGPT. Anyway, but yeah, it's basically a tool that has been around for quite a while. There's been some third-party applications. You may have heard of Jasper before, and it's a tool where you can give it some natural language that's in context of the thing that you're trying to achieve. So with kind of everything that we talk about on this channel, especially around compliance, I was thinking of different ways that we could use this new tool that other organizations might need to adopt in the future. And I say need because when we as specialists go in and talk to other businesses about how to adopt like either data protection or retention or even data retrievals, we don't necessarily talk about the technology per se. We talk about kind of the people and the process. So what is that organization trying to achieve? What's your end goal? Because some customers just don't know where to start and they don't know what they're trying to achieve either, right? So it's around those sort of operating models around how do they protect their crown jewels, their data, but also how do they talk back to the business or the people around what all of these different insights mean. So when it comes to things like insider risk, or if you want to think about it as activities that's conceptual or conceptual to that user, as in, you know, they're doing different things out of the normal behavior that they would do, or they're now doing activities that are an inherent risk to that business. We can have different technical processes in place that allow somebody to log in or not, or be prompted for multi-factor authentication. We got that technically today, but what does all that information mean to somebody as a data protection officer, or that's in human resources or in legal, you know, other people in the business? Technology is there to facilitate the business and not run it. So using ChatGPT, we're able to use that natural language process to basically translate what the solutions in Microsoft Purview is trying to say, but in the context of that recipient. So if it's HR, for example, we can word in such a way that they may understand, and then give them some prompts around like how they might want to approach that particular employee in relation to other policies that they need to abide by. Before we go into that, I just wanted to share my screen for a second. So if we can put that up on the screen. Microsoft's approach now is around sort of the data security. So we've still got Microsoft Purview and all of the wonderful things that's part of that technology set. But when we talk to customers, especially from a security and a compliance perspective, we're talking about the data, right? So we've got this triangle model where we're discovering the data that that organization has, whether that resides on premises. So lots of organizations I speak to still have a lot of data on premises and file servers and still using SharePoint server for whatever reason. We know that data loss prevention is there, especially now with the adaptive policies where we can have that risk profile for those individuals. And then we also have the user contextual activities that may incur things like insider risk. So I'm focusing on this kind of very bottom piece today. So being able to use the tools to understand risky behavior, but in the context of a normal human being, right? People, I believe, want simple information. An old manager of mine and friend and colleague has always had this statement that's really stuck with me, is like, keep it stupid simple, or keep it simple stupid. Maybe he's talking to me. So taking all of that complexity that we're starting to kind of snowball through, how do we keep things simple, especially with like the dashboards that we've accessed today? More granularity is cool, but how do we keep it simple for people in the business? I just want to get your thoughts on that, Ryan. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I completely agree. And, you know, I think specifically with the compliance and security tools, there's a lot you can go into. And people always tend to just want to go for the most severe configuration first and foremost. And even, you know, the maturity model that Nikki and Simon worked on, who was on the podcast in an earlier series, episode, by the way, I think having that breakdown of where actually to start and use the terminology your old manager used to use, you know, keep it simple, stupid. I think that's exactly where you need to start on that journey for sure. And I'm sure Nikki will agree.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you've got different stakeholders as well. I think a lot of these tools have been written by IT people, predominantly for IT people, and also I think more and more for people that have got data scientists or data analytical tools. Now, you can't suddenly hand that sort of wealth of complexity over to somebody in the HR department or somebody in the legal team, whether it's insider risk or e-discovery. You need something in the middle to be able to, as you say, kind of sanitize that information, break it down into what does it mean for me, rather than I'm just drowning in thousands of lines of data points.
You're right. You know, when we go in and we showcase all the wonderful stuff that's in Purview, like the next question at the very end of those meetings is like, right, I need another 5 people now to look at these dashboards, or like, who in the business does this speak to? And it speaks to so many different people. Like, we're not just talking to IT and what it means for them to set it up, but you're right. You know, we need people on board within the business to make their lives easier. That's the whole point of the technology, like keeping it simple. So anyway, going back to OpenAI or ChatGPT, Bing has made an announcement, or Microsoft has made an announcement that Bing is also going to include ChatGPT in preview. So you can sign up today to be part of that preview. I believe they're starting to open it up for individuals like us as well. So it'd be really cool to see that.
Cool.
And the cool thing about that tool versus that tool, Bing as a tool, and ChatGPT is offline. So it's got an older data set. So it's not online. It's not able to look up information that is brand new today, for example, where Bing is able to use that model in order to reference things that are on the internet. So when you get to use it, and I think you sign up for the preview today, if you can, Ryan, if you've not seen it, is it's able to give you that Bing view of all your search results, but also be able to chat with Bing to get that contextual feedback about what it means. And it's able to reference, although slightly incorrectly today. There's some examples where it's not factual at all, or it's not quite right. So bear with it, it's new technology. But it's able to have that sort of chat interface, and you're able to chat with it to define the search criteria you're trying to find. So Microsoft has got some good examples about, like, I've got 6 people coming for dinner tonight, and you give it some criteria, you know, there's 6 people, it needs to include beef, for example, I need some wine to go with it, and it'll actually go off and not just give you random search results that you can read through pages of stuff, but actually give you a sentence about what it thinks you mean, and you can tweak it from there. Anyway, enough about dinner, that's tonight. Let's go back to what we're talking about, sort of insider risk, and the kind of point I'm trying to get across. So we're able to use a combination of tools that sit alongside it. Now, we're familiar with like data analytics and Power BI. So here's a big data set, and Power BI can use machine learning to understand that data set and then give you a sentence about, like, you've got X amount of classification of diseases, for example, in one data set. So we're able to use AI in different ways. Now, we can also use Power Automate and use playbooks in Sentinel that will actually call out to ChatGPT. And then we can give it different prompts. So we can say, from like an insider risk or a data loss prevention point of view, here's the output I want you to take. But we have to create those prompts in order to understand the output that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Now, if we share my screen again for a second, let me just put that up, let me show you what we've got today and what my concept is. So let's share what you see from an insider risk point of view. And then rather than showing you through Power BI or Power Automate or Sentinel, because you can build it there today. Anyone can go off and do those kind of workflows. Let's look at just a preview of I'll get my words out in a second. Get the prompts to work out what this information on the screen is trying to tell us. So this is a dashboard within Insider Risk Management. It's giving me an indication of how many events or how much data is being moved, obfuscated, or deleted. And this is what we're expecting like end users to look at and understand. There's just way too much information in there, even though it's filtered and curated really well. Okay, so enter ChatGPT. So what we could do using those automation flow tools is we can create a prompt that might say something like, you act as a security or a data protection officer. So that's the person who has the information at the moment. Then we can tell ChatGPT in order to change the context of the information that we're giving it. So you need to operate under these standards, but you're talking to somebody in human resources. So you have to manipulate the data in such a way that they will be able to understand. So it could be HR, it could be another data protection officer. It could be cybersecurity because they've got a different lens. And it's all about perspective, right? Who is the person you're speaking to? We're used to in IT, right? We talk technical, we talk in acronyms, but when we go out and sell services to customers or the business, we have a different way of being able to talk to them. The principle is the same. We also want to tell ChatGPT that you are or you will go away and do something. So you're setting up the relationship between you and ChatGPT in a way that is going to provide you the right information. So this whole sort of kind of prompt creation is a bit like the old days when you went to Bing or Google and you wanted to find different types of information. You would add like Booleans or quote marks, right, to say this specific information. And it feels to me like we're just going back to that. So we're training the system about how we're going to talk to it. And then we give it the information that it needs, the kind of user contextual insights that we can see on the screen here. And then it's going to come and give me maybe a summary or some detailed information about what that HR representative should go away and do. Right? It's up to them at the end of the day, but we can also reference other external information so they're better informed. So let's bring up ChatGPT and we'll try and create this prompt now. Here we go. Let's bring this down. So here's ChatGPT. So if you've not played with this yet, you can go to chat.openai.com/chat and you can log in with some credentials that you set up. So you have to register. You also have to put in your telephone number as well, because it verifies that you are the person you say you are. As Nikki and I discussed earlier on, it does get really busy. So especially late in the evening, I think when America comes online, you might not be able to get in. But if you hit F5 a couple of times, it'll eventually let you in. There's also a paid version that's, I think it's available today. It's £20 a month, and that gives you better access into the platform, and it gives you faster response times and things like that. So this is the way that this is kind of being built into our lives today, and obviously Bing going forward. So we've got this chat box down here. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to separate this prompt out for you. So this is what I was trying to say. We're going to tell ChatGPT some conditions I want it to act as. So I said, I want you to act as a data security advisor. You will be the human resources representative for the business. We're you're going to get a summary, if I could word this rightly, you're going to get a summary of the data, and I want it to be clear and concise. So this is where we could supplement it with other conditions we want to add it to. So there might be other legal things that I want to reference against the data, but provide user insights and suggest like clear options to take it forward from a legal perspective. So we can add in some conditions there. Now, what we would normally do is we could use Power Automate in order to bring the data in. Notice the data I'll copy and paste in a second doesn't contain any like personal identifiable information. I think, Nikki, you had a view on that around the kind of the dangers of ChatGPT.
Yeah, so from what I'm reading, ChatGPT isn't GDPR compliant. I think there's statements there that, they are harvesting our information, IP addresses, any information you put in there. So you've got to think anything you're doing in here is going to be in the public domain. So if you're analysing or sharing any information with it, don't have any kind of personal identifiable data, don't have information about, your corporate secrets, etc. in there. So just think first before you use it.
Exactly, yeah. Don't put any confidential information in this tool. I would say eventually in the future, as Microsoft take this on and they want some of the capabilities to be built into the M365 platform, is they'll have calls out to the API, but it won't actually move the data around like it just does in the platform today, right? If you're sending information from one place to another, like how does Microsoft use that data? They don't necessarily do that. I'm just trying to think of a good example, like the Viva Insights, right? It's looking at data and then formulating this summary of what it means, but it's not actually taking the data anyway. It's calling out to an API to get it. I could see that happening in the future, but Nikki's totally right. It's not GDPR compliant. Do not put any personal information in here whatsoever. And this is why I'm only giving it the summary at the moment of the data I want it to process. So if I paste this is just a quick summary, just a dump really of the types of information we could see in that alert in Insider Risk Management. And if I hit send, might need to tweak this slightly to get a nicer summary. ChatGPT is great at writing natural language sentences, but sometimes it likes to repeat itself or it's not factually correct. So it still requires a human being at the moment to go in and actually tweak things, but you can see now it's spitting out. So as a data security advisor, I'd like to bring the following insights and suggestions to your attention, right? So it's breaking down all of that information I gave it from the platform to make it contextual to that person who sits in HR. So yeah, it'll just go through and actually build that conversation out now. And another big kind of ask from my customers is they're all working in different ways. So rather than go into a dedicated portal for like DLP or for insider risk, they might want that information to be surfaced up within Teams or within the channel or a pop-up message or just in an email, right? So using automation tools, we can decide where that information flows through. If it's email for HR, great. We could send it there if we need to. With Power Platform, we can, in the email, provide a set of buttons, right? So we can give some different options about what they should do next, like go and investigate this for me, or red alert, this person's left, lock everything down. So we can do that really, really easy using a combination of all these different tools that's available. But the key thing that I personally like around this is just being able to reduce the complexity of the information the platform's giving you even further. But like I say, with a view of somebody who's in legal or HR that doesn't understand any of this technical ability whatsoever. What's your thoughts on that?
So yeah, I've not really looked at this. I've heard little bits in the news and so on and so forth, but looking at it now in for real, if you like, I think this is an incredibly powerful tool, and I've got lots of things running through my head at the moment. And I think just having it to do just the contextualize of what you've got there with reports and so on and so forth, Graham, I think it's phenomenal. But in my head, I'm thinking, can this like build PowerShell commands for you, or custom query language syntaxes and queries and so on and so forth? This could spit out quite a lot of configurations for you, right? But again, don't be putting any, non-public information in here. If you want it to build out mailboxes, don't be putting UPNs in. Just ask it to build out multiple mailboxes and so on and so forth. But yeah, I guess for me, I'm coming around to the fact that this is a great tool, and you can get very lazy with it if you're a coder or whatever the case may be. Just to say, build me a custom query language that joins a search key, or on a column of, I don't know, Office object grid, or build me a PowerShell command to build out some sensitivity labels or retention labels or whatever the case may be. That's kind of where
exactly. That's cool. It's got so many different use cases. That is definitely one of them. Saying like, I've got this problem, or I need to code this issue, or I know you were having problems earlier on, right, of building some KQL, some custom query language. Like, you could put it in here and say, I haven't got this quite right. Could you tweak it for me or make it better? And it would go away and do that. But the power, I guess, that I've seen quite recently, today, in fact, is where if you're not quite sure how to create those prompts, like how you tell it what you want it to do, you can get it to create the prompts for you, right? So you're basically, getting it to help itself. So you could write a prompt to say, I want to write a prompt. So you're saying like, this is what I want you to do. This is who I am. This is what I'm trying to achieve. And then what is the best prompt to be able to ask you a more defined question to get the information I need? So it's been kind of a loop back effect in order to do that. And there's some lovely websites that have popped up literally in the last couple of months that are huge forums dedicated to prompt design. So this is kind of the new thing. I'm just trying to remember the URLs. Maybe we can put it at the bottom of this session later, but we'll send some resources. I think this is just another interesting tool that will make lives just a little bit easier. But in this instance, taking quite a lot of data that's confusing to some people, and they don't need to go in other portals. They just need to have the defined information to make a decision. So yeah, that was it for the day, really.
I wonder how many people are going to use this to write essays for them.
They're already doing it.
They're already doing it. Oh, God.
Yeah.
There's been cases of people actually doing that, trying it out. I think there was a university professor somewhere was doing like an MBA dissertation and put the requirements into ChatGPT, took it out, and then he marked it as if he would be marking any other student provided content, and it marked it passed. Now the thing to note with this is, and I can't remember the website, if you take this code, you can check to see if something's been written by AI. There's another website that you put it through, and you put your code or your essay or your thesis, whatever it may be, and it reviews it to see if it's been written by AI, and it will give you a percentage swing. So this is good, I think, to give you prompts and highlights. So if you're writing blog posts, for example, give me some ideas of the blog post. Or for me, the other day, I needed to do some stuff with PMP PowerShell, and I wasn't really sure of what I was doing in the command. Rather than spending a lot of time in looking it up, I just asked ChatGPT how to do it. And, it provides me some of the code. I mean, I can quickly share you what I was trying to do the other day. So
that'd be brilliant.
This is just a different view on, I'm working with a client, and I want to automatically add retention labels to particular document libraries as part of my team provisioning process. And this is a proof of concept. So I just wanted something quick and easy. So, I just put at the top here, using PMP PowerShell, create teams and add a document library called records, and add columns called, that was with Project AI, and populate it with a project ABC. Now it will come out and it will start, generating your information. So I've got some PowerShell there. And then I thought, oh, this is quite good. I want it to now add some channels to the team as well. So let's add some standard channels. So it's then updated the script to actually say, add the channels. And then I thought, well, if I'm doing this, you need to kind of sign in with PMP PowerShell. Let's add that in as well. So I've asked it to include installing the PMP PowerShell. So it's pulled all of that information up. So I can now take that out, and go away and test it. And you can also go in if you want and say, well, go away and annotate it. Or another use case is, I'm not an expert by any means on PowerShell. I'm a basic user of it. So I can take my PowerShell, put it in and say, optimize it, because you might be, doing things in the wrong process, or put your PowerShell in and say, go and annotate it for you. So it's kind of, for me, it's a time saving
Yeah,
tip
it is.
around helping me do coding when, that's not my day job.
That's incredible. That's really
It
incredible.
is so good. And this is what chatbots, I think, should have been when they came out.
Yeah.
We've been on that path for such a long time, but this is just on another level. That's why everyone's so excited about this new technology and what it means going forward. But yeah, that's lovely, Nikki.
Yes, I think, Ryan, you're going to have to sign up to this and try it out. I think particularly on your work that you're doing with, KQL and Sentinel and everything. You can try it out on that and see what you can get out.
Yeah, I'm very new to Sentinel. I've only been using it for 6 months or so. So just learning all the KQL commands and queries, rather, just building them all up. But not only that, I mean, you touched on it before, Graham, with the playbooks. It's such an essential part to some of the work that you do in Sentinel. I built a couple of playbooks out for customers and the JSON code and all the rest of it. And if I've got such a tool as ChatGPT to kind of lean on, then I think I would pretty much get myself to a point where I can't get any further, as we've just witnessed with one of the queries I was trying. And if I can't work it out, at least I know I've got something to lean on, rather than having to go through multiple blogs. And even the playbook stuff as well. I had a bit of an issue with one of the JSON codes, and it was purely just down to the fact that I'd left a space between two items.
Yeah.
It's something as simple as that. If I had to put that into ChatGPT and said, can you show me what's wrong with this JSON code, it'd have come back and said, you have a space here, my friend. Close it.
Well, yeah. Well, it's going to get even better than that, because it's with the integration into Bing. It isn't just having that chat about it and what you're trying to achieve, but it also is telling you where the source of that information is coming from as well. As it's building up that chat, it's going, I got this information from here. Or there's some instances at the moment where it's saying, I got the information from here, but that information is nowhere to be found on the website. That's a bit of an early bug, I think. But at least then you can go back and say, oh, I want to learn a bit more around that. So it's giving you pointers throughout that chat interface.
It's a great way to learn.
Yeah, I think it's going to be important, though, to be able to do some kind of, I suppose, sense check on the sources of information, where it's coming, is it, what is the kind of the reliability of the information? So, for example, when my son's been doing his work for university, when they're searching on stuff, you can go on, things like Google Scholar. So you are searching within an authoritative database rather than just random people's views on the website. So I think it is going to be really, really important that you don't take it for fact, need to really understand what those sources are and how reliable.
Yeah, I wonder if we could just finish off really and go over to Sentinel and just show you, Ryan, like how easy it is to integrate into your workflow. Could we share my screen again and just quickly show you that?
Just while you're doing that as well, Graham, I think for anybody out there, it's almost Valentine's Day as well. You could probably get it to write a nice love letter for your partner.
Absolutely. You can. It's a nice PowerShell for Valentine's Day.
Indeed. Sorry, Graham, back to yourself.
That's all good. Yeah. So I've just got a very simple playbook for a second. So if you're used to Sentinel, which is Microsoft's Siemens Saw solution, it can ingest data from almost anything, right? So all I'm telling the system here is, if you see an incident that's been created within Sentinel, go and call ChatGPT, give it a prompt, because we have to tell the system what we want it to do with the data, right? So all I've said is, take the following information and summarize that for an audience that has a human resources background. And what I'm doing then is using the dynamic content to input the description. So send the description, not any sensitive information, out to ChatGPT, and it's going to come back and for each of those send an email to someone specific in the organization. And all they'll get there is an email that's come through with a summary of what it means from a HR perspective. So it's as simple as that.
That's
You know, you could
incredible.
use this in combination to like your security analysts just as a sense check about what this information means, but again, still use the human being about whether they should triage that correctly or not, or get additional information. But yeah, go and play. It's so much fun.
I really like that. And like I say, Sentinel's absolutely massive. And you can, like you say, Graham, you can bring so many logs in with the data connectors and so on and so forth. But that's only one part of it, that's the SIEM side of it. And then you've got the source side of it like this, and this having ChatGPT to kind of lean on when you get stuck, or if you've got a complex workbook to rely on. Let's say you need to remove a user from a group because they've been added in there for whatever reason and they shouldn't have access to that particular resource. I presume you could just type that pretty much what you want into ChatGPT, and it would say, okay, this is what your playbook needs to look like.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. You can format it and have it structured. You can even do grids and things in there as well, so you can get it to format out the data in a specific way. It's probably a little bit basic at the moment, but I used it the other day. I said, get me a list of file types in a correlation to the categories. So like if it's a docx file and a PDF, then I want to categorize that as like a document or some words. But if it's an image file, I want that to be categorized differently. So I just put that into ChatGPT, and then it give me a grid output that I could reuse in a CSV to put into Power BI. So they're kind of really simple, but something that might take you a bit of time if you're doing it manually, like 5 minutes and you're done. So yeah.
That's incredible. Well, that's an absolutely phenomenal tool, and I just started signing up to it then, so I'll certainly waste all my evening now playing around with that for sure. But thanks,
if you want to have a good evening, go and have a look at promptstacks.com, and then you'll see a bunch of different prompts that you can use in there. So top tip.
Promptstacks. Let me just take a note of that while
yeah.
everybody's taking a note of that right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Graham, for joining us today. This is a slightly different spin, I think, on compliance, but I think what we're looking at is we've got so much information and knowledge stored within those kind of, I suppose, the unified audit logs, all the alerts and all the other information we can get out. It's just, I suppose, it's repurposing that data. It's targeting the right data to the right people, and I think importantly in the right language.
Indeed, that's good. Certainly helpful for me anyway, that's for sure. So once again, Graham, it's been amazing to have you on. You're always welcome to come on anytime you want. So thanks
very
again.
much.
Cheers. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.